Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Thursday's study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, or the Srimad Bhagavatam show, depending on how you want to look at it. Good morning. It's a beautiful morning here. How are you, Prabhu?
Beautiful, Raghunath. Beautiful.
Come join our community. Come join us live if you want, everybody listening. There's a lot of people out there listening, but they don't know that we actually have a live group here on Zoom, and you can join that. Just email Mara, Wisdom of the Sages, 108@gmail.com. Also, if you have questions for the weekend, we have Q&A day usually. You can send your questions there. Wisdom of the Sages at 108. Wait, Wisdom of the Sages, 108@gmail.com to Miss Mara, and she'll collect the questions. Everything good with you?
Everything's good.
All right, good. You know, Kastuba, me, and Mara, we're heading out to India, and the trip is shaping up. India, I'm announcing India in this autumn. If you're thinking about going on a pilgrimage to India, if you've never been to India, or if you've been there, but sometimes people just go, I went for business, or this is a very special trip, and I'm happy to have Kastuba with me this year doing it as well. And we're going to go to all sacred cities. It's going to be quite a beautiful whirlwind of transcendental kirtan, satsangs, holy places, holy rivers, holy people, and incredible food. And it's quite adventurous. So if you're interested, go to my website, Raghunath, RAGHUNATH.yoga. And that is in October. And then right after that, we're having a Nepal trip, which is already shaping up as well, too. And we're trekking through. It's just pilgrimage, but we're doing trekking. It's a little bit more physical. And it's not like you're going to have like an ice pick and climbing the side of a mountain. It's just, you're not even carrying your own gear. We have Sherpas carrying our stuff. But it's a beautiful walking in the Himalayas. And a lot of people, I'm looking at Jai Subhadra right now. She came with us. And it's a very special trip as well. So those trips are back to back. You can do one or you can do both, but they're both on my website, raghunath.yoga. Miss Mara, any announcements today for you?
Yeah, and we have Bhakti recovery group meetings today at noon and 1:30 Eastern time.
All right, great.
We gotta up Mara's volume still. It's
really?
Sounds,
Yeah, gotta pump up the volume.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Alrighty.
Okay.
All right, we're good. All right.
Okay.
I got a new harmonium.
That's
This
great,
thing is
Raghunath.
beautiful.
This thing is like a Rolls Royce of harmoniums. Royalharmonium.com. It's our good friend Govardhan who, it's like about time. Like an American went to India, sat with them and said, listen, we don't need this. We do need this. We need quality products. You can't buy these cheap things. And then we're going to get great colors. And the thing is like, just like a work of art. Anyway, I've just absorbed in it, and we're having a little kirtan tonight and Saturday for Ekadasi, so we're excited to try it out and sing with it. But yeah, if you're interested in harmonium, check them out. royalharmonium.com. Ah, all right. We have a big nugget today, and it's another Rudyard Kipling nugget who was born. He was one of those English Indians born in how do you how do you call it? English
India,
India or India when in during
British
the
India,
British India during the
British Raj. Is that
the
what they called
British
it?
Raj. Yeah, he was there, and he was a very very prolific and empowered writer. Um, but anyway, we won't get into too much about him. He can get a little controversial.
Okay.
We're gonna leave it at that.
Well, anyway, yesterday we read a quote from him, and then on the message board, Sonny the cat drew our attention to this poem, which I'd heard before. It's a very famous poem, If, right? But Sonny the cat mentioned that, people draw parallels with this poem in the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and when you read it, it's just like there's no doubt. It's almost like there's no doubt.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's very impressive. Like, was he influenced by the Gita? Was he just a wise person, a deep person? But
Well, since he grew up in India, I think it's pretty safe to assume that this is, there are direct influences here.
hmm, hmm.
But it's a beautiful poem and very well expressed.
Yeah.
Sometimes a writer can or a speaker can speak on a topic, and it's helpful and valuable when we speak on these sattvic topics, or but then sometimes they take it to another level. They go a little bit deeper, and it's that deeper level that I think it's where the transformation takes place. And maybe we can discuss this as we read through, but
Okay.
it's like
We read it straight through. It's a big poem. It's a powerful poem. I mean, I could stop every 2 lines and be
well, I
like,
think
wow.
we probably do need to stop. But just what I wanted to share was in my life, I've seen, I live in a community of followers of the Bhagavad Gita. And so, we all accept it. We accept its message. We appreciate its message. We intend to live according to it. But there'll be some among us who embrace its message on a still deeper level. In other words, there's a tendency to say, okay, I accept it and I live by that, and then we sort of settle in to a certain level.
Well, what we settle into is our previous habits. Oftentimes we can read a book, get inspired by a book, but the book doesn't change us.
Well, I'm saying even if it does change us, even if we do take up better habits and so on, we still may just kind of leave it there. But that the spiritual path, it means always digging deeper, always, it doesn't, you don't just settle. You got to go to deeper and deeper levels. And I see sometimes what he seems to be indicating, what I'm picking up in his poem is he'll talk about that one level and then he'll take it to that deeper level. Anyway, why don't we read?
Okay, sure. This is called If. That's the name of the poem.
If
you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too.
Okay, let's slow it down already. Let's go to the first line, right? And I think that's like just the major theme in this, or at least a major theme in this poem. Keep your head about you. This is the samadvam, right? This is the even-mindedness. When, others are being affected by the externals and losing their heads in a sense.
Not only affected by the externals, but they're affected by the externals and blaming you for
and there's that second level.
Wrong.
Right, yeah. It's one thing for you to keep equipoise when others are not. It's another thing when others are not and they're actually directing it with some personal animosity towards
this
you.
Is like cancel culture in its best, right?
Yeah, because that's the point where you could say, you know what, I don't need to keep my head anymore because they're blaming it unfairly on me, so it's justified, it's rationalized, my own unsteadiness.
Sure.
But no, if we want to go deeper, even when they're blaming it on us, whether it be fair or unfair,
Sure.
you have to keep that even mind. That's the next level, you know. Okay.
Very
And
tricky.
then
Very tricky stuff right here.
oh yeah, tricky.
If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you,
Mm,
right? You're firmly footed, right? But
okay.
make allowance for their doubting too,
There's that openness that one needs, right? If
right? Someone's blaming you for a bunch of stuff. If you can sit back and say, you know what?
there might be
Instead of
something.
just being, oh yeah, you say, you know what? Well, maybe they do have some points here.
Mm,
Maybe I should be a little self-reflective.
it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. If you can be, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting,
All right, patience, yeah.
it's a big one, or being lied about and still don't deal in lies,
No vindictiveness in one.
or being hated, don't give way to hating.
Very important
That's the
in this
big
day
one.
and
That's the
age.
big one.
Very important in this day and age.
And you be hated and not give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good nor talk too wise.
Well, both of those lines are important, I think, to discuss. You know, like the hating one, or being hated. Don't give way to hate. I think, and you and I discuss this a lot. I think, but it almost with the rise of social media, with the kind of, I don't know, falling apart, kind of the collapse of like healthy sources of news, right? Or
Yeah.
let's say, you know, in other words, within the culture of journalism when we were growing up, there was some, of course, news is always going to be slanted a little this way or that way, but there were some journalistic standards that were maintained that kept somewhat of a balance in the news that you get. And today, we tend to get our news from sources that are very opinionated.
The presenters are almost purchased.
Yeah, and often there's a, an element of hatred, of animosity within it, of mockery, of hatred, etc. So when that's where we're getting our news from all over the place, we feel it's natural to kind of follow in that path, and it's also we may feel that I need to take a stand. Right, we're all getting pressured. If you don't take a stand, if you're just sitting on the fence, then you're just as bad as anyone else. You're actually the cause of the whole problem. You are scum. It's like all this shaming, all this. Well, can I think about
If you
it?
didn't
Maybe there are
post
two
about
sides
it
to this.
yesterday, I was like, I didn't even read the news yet.
Yeah, there's this side. Are 100% convinced and have their arguments that they're entirely right and everything that they're doing is justified and rational.
And they didn't even gather all the facts yet.
And then the other side is doing, or sometimes these are about long historic issues, and if you even try to see it from a balanced point of view, or you get blamed.
You get blamed, and you're the reason why this is happening.
Yeah,
because you're
so
condemning it now.
Even without being hated, to not give way to hating is challenging in this age. What to speak of when it's being aimed at you. And we see that, if we read the histories of great saints in any spiritual tradition, commonly we'll see because you know what this whole poem is about, Raghunath? It's about being tested in a sense, right? It's about here are the tests that life gives you, rather than just see them as like problems in life. See them as tests in life, and then try to rise to the test. And so
beautiful way to look at it. Beautiful way to frame out any challenge you're going through.
Yeah,
you're not actually going through it. Two people came up to me recently, like, I'm going through this personal hell right now, and that's exactly what I had to say. I was like, oh, this is going to be over in a moment. Krishna just wants to see how you're going to react.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. Do we rise to the test? So yeah, it's a great way of him putting it. Like, here's the test. What if you responded this way? What if, rather than seeing it as just drudgery, problem, et cetera, what if you saw it as a test and rose up and responded to it? So it's challenging. It's challenging in this day and age not to give way to hate. It's even more challenging when it's pointed at you, and still you don't give way to it. And that's why I'm saying, like, if we read any spiritual tradition, when they give the lives of the saints, we see that practically in every case they had to respond to hatred. People that misunderstood them, people that were envious of them, that persecuted them. How did they respond? It's almost always going to be, of course, in Jesus, he's on the cross and he's saying, dear Father, forgive them. And
It's
Haridas
amazing
Thakur
how
is being whipped and he's forgiving, it's always there.
it's amazing how it's not like these guys are in the Ku Klux Klan or something. These are people practicing austerity, renunciation, prayer, and still people will go out of their way to find fault with them and take them down. They're not they're not blowing up mailboxes with M80s. They're not spray painting on your door. They're not doing human trafficking. These are just like good people practicing a spiritual life, and still people are going out of their way to find faults with them.
So when it comes our direction, rather than going into some kind of fit over it, one can just recognize, oh, well, if I'm going to be a sadhu in this life, if I'm going to live as a saint in this life, well, then of course I'm going to have to be tested. Of course, that's going to have to, Well, how could my worthiness to be a full-hearted surrender to God not go untested? So, I welcome the test. That's a mature level of thought. That's a deeper person, and we have to learn this. If we're going to go deeper into it, we have to.
Let's keep reading.
Yeah. If you can.
Okay.
Dream.
Next stanza. If you can dream.
Oh, hold it! But we missed an important line there, and that's stanza. And yet, so if you can, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet, don't look too good, nor talk too wise. Which seems to be, to me, I read that as a call to beware of pretentiousness, right? Because, like, even if I do, in a sense, pass the test, I don't complain. I bear the drudgery, I bear the criticism, I bear the hate born towards me. But then I start to, then comes the next subtle Mayic test, right? Look at me, I'm the saint,
Or
I'm the wise
you
one.
shoot back and chop them down who's been chopping you down. So
Well,
I'll show them.
Well, then you didn't. Then you did give way to hate, right?
Yeah.
But let's say you passed that test and you didn't give way to hate. Now you begin to embrace the external facade of I'm the wise one, I'm the good one, I am the saint. That's another layer of illusion. Right?
Sometimes I'll dip into these political debates, and even when someone's saying something obviously wrong, and the other side comes back and like body slams them, they don't do it with grace. They do it with that nastiness, like, you fools. And it just makes you lose. They all lose. They all lose.
Well, again, that to me, that's the first line of that. That's not giving way to hate. And that's challenging enough. But let's say you pass that test, right? Let's say you don't write the nasty reply. You reply, in a very, in a way that's far more sensitive. But then the next challenge, the next illusion is that you begin to present yourself with the facade of being the wise one, the pure one, the saintly one. That's third level, right? Third level of subtlety, third level of detachment, third level of for the bhakti, third level of devotional response.
All right, here's the next stanza. If you can dream and not make your dreams your master, if you can think and not make your thoughts your aim.
So how do you read those?
Truthfully, I was a little blank on those two. I mean, I could extrapolate something, but I don't want to just go off on an indulgent tangent that might not be what he means. So I sort of just backed off of those when I read them.
No, I mean, I think these are very important. I think, again, we can approach the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, these sacred teachings of Bhagavatam even, and rather than the pure motive of I need to be transformed by them. I need to make myself vulnerable to them and be transformed by them. We can just make thinking about it the aim and talking about it the aim, you know. Um, again, it has to do with facade, you know, or superficiality.
See, I was taking it like dream, like you have these ideas. I would like to do this. I'd like to do that. I'd like to do this, but not, but understand like these are dreams. These are my ideas of goals, but I'm also relinquished to God's goal for me.
Sure.
You know, I'm not going to be attached to that dream. This is what I'm thinking, but it might not be a divine plan for me.
Very
That's
nice,
how I
Will.
read. That is what I
Very
pulled out of
nice.
that.
Very
If you
nice.
can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. You can meet with
Imposters.
triumph and disaster. An imposter is someone who is appearing as something else than they are.
Sure. Yeah, and so we consider triumph and disaster, or we could even say pleasure and pain, you know, happiness and distress. You know, of course, Gita is speaking so much about this, right? You know, right off the bat.
I'm getting more appreciation for the Bhagavad Gita reading this poem.
Yeah, yeah. You know, Sitoshna Sukha Dukkha Da, the winter and summer seasons come. You know, tongues to tikshas vibharata. One has to learn to tolerate them. Seeing that these are, you know, recognizing, assuming from the beginning that this world is going to go up and down, up and down. There's going to be triumph in my life. There's going to be disaster in my life. But these are imposters. You know, they come posing as if they're more meaningful than they really are. And the wiser person is just like, I know there's going to be triumph in my life. I know there's going to be disaster in my life. They come in guise of being results of my own efforts, when really I give my effort and I'm detached to the results, you know, and I accept what it is, and I just keep, you know, I just keep serving.
Okay. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by the knaves to make a trap for fools.
Oh, do you ever feel like that with your straight edge
Of course.
things
Are
you've
you
taught?
kidding? This whole poem is about every detractor I've ever had since I was 17 years old. And I still get it. Doesn't end. You know, it happened before internet. There was just magazines and fanzines or just gossip. Everyone's going to get this. Once you get a body, you're going to get detractors. People are trying to take you down. People are trying to focus
but not
on
just
others'
that.
faults.
In other words, to me, this is saying something more than that. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twist. Like I tried to give something good to the world, and people came and they twisted it and started using it for evil in the world.
Sure.
You know, it might take the wind out of your sails. It might make one cynical.
Sure.
Why bother? Why try?
Yep. Been there, done that too.
Okay.
Almost did it recently. Watch the things you gave your life to broken. Right? You give your life to this thing, it's just broken, and stoop and build them up with worn out tools.
So important. You know, I think that can apply to one's family. It could, you know, where I see it applying is within institutions. You know, you give your life to try to build something up, and then the way things work in this world, other people get involved, and then the thing's broken. You're like, hold it, I gave my life to that, you know?
Sure.
And then now are you going to become bitter? Or will you even stoop down and just try to help in any way that you can, even with worn out tools, right? Without saying, but I did this and I did that and you went and you broke it. No, you just keep trying to help. It's nothing but positive energy here, right? Nothing but positive thinking. No cynicism, no resentment. I'm just keep trying to serve the higher purpose.
Yeah, that was my life, these last two lines for the last 2 years, I think. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss. You know, that must be some popular game.
In the pitch and toss then,
turn
mate?
of the century. Yeah. Pitch and toss. Sort of like toss across. Remember that game?
Rolling dice or something?
And lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss.
There's that no resentment, no complaining.
Yeah. If you can force your heart and nerve and how do you pronounce this word? Sinew, to serve your turn long after they are gone.
What does
And
that
so
mean?
hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on.
Well, hold it. Slow it down. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they're gone. Do you know what serve your turn means?
No. No, I don't.
I think what this is saying
English,
is that if you can push yourself, if you can, rather than fall victim to laziness, if you can push yourself and your body, what you're given, right? You're given you have your heart and your nerve and the sinew, I think, is like your tendons and so on.
Yeah.
You know, if you can take your body, take this machine that we're given to work with, use it for the good. Use it for the good, not in a selfish way, but even after you're gone, even after your body's gone, you want to work in such a way where, like, you know, they say that like people that plant trees, knowing that they're never going to be able to have the fruit from them, you know, because you're serving because it's the right thing to do, rather than because you can take the fruit yourself.
Okay. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. Very beautiful, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we hang out with famous people or important people, and we sort of lose a bit of ourself.
Yeah, I think it's saying on both ends here, right? Like whether you're associating with common people, there's one way you could be corrupted in that.
Sure.
In that sangha, right? In that association, or you can be meeting with, you know, the elite, the rare people amongst society. There's another way you might be corrupted by that. But can you walk through this world without being corrupted in its different forms of sangha?
If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, I like that. Neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like you have to have a resilience.
Yeah.
I love that concept of you can't hurt me. I can only allow you to hurt me. Like I have the governance.
Sure.
You know?
Nice.
We become very thin-skinned, and we allow people to affect us almost too much, it seems. Where if we're just locked into our own personal virtue connected to Krishna, nothing can hurt us. It's such an empowered way to live.
Yeah, and it's not like saying you can't hurt me like that either.
You can't hurt me.
but in other words, so even through the test, one's love for the other that might even be causing the potential hurting isn't lost. Right? Yeah, it's deep.
So, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much.
Okay.
All men count. If
all men, you're concerned about everyone. All men count. There's nobody that doesn't count here, right?
Okay, they all matter, but
they all matter.
Too much. Okay.
But none too much. I'm not. I'm not favoring one over the other. I have no friends. I have no enemies in that sense, right? I see everyone
fill
counts.
The unforgivable minute.
Yeah.
With 60 seconds.
Not unforgivable. Unforgiving.
Unforgiving. Wait. If you can fill the unforgiving minute. Sorry, with that.
Yeah.
With 60
which is also a common theme, right? Time is not going to stop.
With 60 seconds worth of distance run. What does that mean, Mara?
It means that you used your time fully. You didn't waste any time.
Yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which is more? You'll be a man, my son.
Thank you.
You know what? He must have run into some sage who was like tutoring him or consulting with.
You get that someone's teaching him Bhagavad Gita.
Someone's teaching him something, and he's sitting with him on a regular basis. He's in like this colonial British Raj, India, where the British are running things. They're employing all the sophisticated, mercantile people and thinkers and work. They're the brown sahibs, as they call them. And so they're working everything, and he's just running and meeting sagacious people and sitting with them and just listening and sort of making it his own and culturally appropriating it.
Well, no, I don't call this cultural appropriation. It's wisdom, and he's sharing it.
It is wisdom.
And he's sharing it in his own way.
Yeah, and he's sharing to his own people.
Yeah, it's when you read this entire poem, and what it is really it's like a map of karma yoga. To be in this world and not of it, to give yourself and work in this world, not become corrupted by the world. Why? Because you have no personal motive in it, because you're not striving for the things. You're doing it with detachment. You're doing it because it's the right thing to do, because it's noble, because it's virtuous.
Sure.
And the test will come in so many different forms. And if you can continue to respond with a kind of virtuous detachment, then you've actually understood it. Then he's saying the earth and everything in it is yours. I understand that as it's saying then you've understood, you're everything that you're meant to gain in your earthly existence, you will gain. Right. Otherwise, you're going to be distracted and diverted and caught up in cycles and loops and go nowhere. But can you move through this? That's where the Gita went, where the previous texts hadn't gone. Right. You don't find that so much in Upanishads. Vedas are about enjoying this world, in a pious way, and Upanishads are about walking away from this world with wisdom, with detachment. Bhagavad Gita is like, say, take that wisdom, take that detachment in the world, and move through the world in this virtuous, detached way. That's essentially what this poem is all about. And it's Bhagavad Gita is just woven all throughout it.
Beautiful. All right, let's dive into the Bhagavatam, my friend.
Okay, where's other youngsters? I mean, it sounds like it's a father speaking to the son. Now we have other youngsters.
Unless he's just trying to school some other gentleman. My son. Oh, yeah?
What up, son?
Okay, my son, Kastuba. Let's do the Bhagavatam now.
All right.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaivanaratamam devim saraswatim vyasam tatojayam madirayat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badresh shu nityam bhagavad sevaya bhagavati tamasloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge, and I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 7, Text 48. Or 40.
What text are you in?
48. All right. The four principles of advancement in spiritual life: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Right? That's how the Vedas seem to see the progress of material existence. All depends on the disposition of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah, I think Prabhupada's using disposition in a way a little different than we commonly use it nowadays.
Sure.
I looked it up, actually.
40 years or so, words can sort of change.
Oh, yeah, I think I think we're going back more like 150 years, right. Prabhupada's, the English that Prabhupada learned. But here, I think disposition has to do with, I saved it somewhere. I can't find it right now. But disposition has to do with like how things are placed.
Okay.
So it's the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you could say, right?
Okay.
Rather than his like mental state or...
Right. Therefore, my dear friends, follow in the footsteps of devotees. Without desire, fully depend on their disposition of the Lord. Worship him, the super soul, in devotional service.
Okay, so he's saying all these kids are getting trained up in the Dharma Artha Kama kind of model, right? Okay, kids, forget anything about God, forget anything about any higher purpose, forget anything about elevating yourself, transcending your lower nature and all that. No, the purpose to life is, okay, we'll do Dharma for a motivated purpose, because through it we'll gain wealth, and through that we can fulfill our material desires, and that's the purpose of life. Go out there,
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. What?
We're performing some religious practice just so we can have money.
Yeah.
Just
sure.
so we can get our senses needed.
Yeah. And
this
so
is how Bhagavatam is different than the entire Vedic teachings. It's not teaching you how to just be happy, not merely how to be happy in this world. It's teaching you how to transcend the material world.
Yeah, and transcend it in its highest form, or its highest way.
Mm.
So in one sense, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, that is progression. But he's turning to other kids who've been trained up in this kind of materialistic viewpoint, and he's saying all of that whole system of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and the universal laws that govern it, that's all the disposition, that's all the arrangement of Lord Vishnu, who's behind it all. There's a face behind that all. There's someone that arranged it all. So why not just turn directly to him, right? Stop playing this game, that, and meet him in person. So therefore, my dear friends, follow in the footsteps of the devotees, those that are dedicated to the person behind it. And then whatever desires you're concerned about, those will seem paltry compared to the experience of devotion.
We find in Bhakti that, and I'm sure you can agree with this one, that when you have a desire, Krishna does one of two things. He either fulfills that desire, or he makes you realize this is just such a silly desire. And
you got to realize it one way,
desiring this?
Whether he fulfills it or not. Yeah.
Okay, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is the soul and the super soul of all living entities. Every living entity is a manifestation of his energy in terms of the living soul and the material body. Therefore, the Lord is most dear, and he is the supreme controller. If a demigod, a demon, a human being, a yaksha, a Gandharva, those are higher empowered beings, or anyone within the universe renders service to the lotus feet of Mukunda, that's Lord Vishnu, who can deliver liberation, he is actually situated in the most auspicious condition of life, exactly like us, meaning the Mahajans, the great personalities.
Okay, so he's speaking to the universality of Bhakti now, right? A demigod can practice it, but even us, the demons, right? Our birth is not at all a disqualification. Right? We were born in this dynasty that's just kind of anti-bhakti, And he's saying, but that is not in any way, the human beings, these kind of lower beings can do it because they're up on the higher planets, right? The yakshas, they can do it. The Gandharvas can do it. Anyone within the universe can connect, because every soul is a manifestation of the energy of Krishna.
Whatever type of family you were born into, whatever your past is, there's no, some people, and I hear this a lot. Some people say, I am just so disqualified to practice bhakti. Guess what? You're qualified. Your disqualification makes you qualified. That is Lord Chaitanya's mercy. If you feel I'm so broken, I'm shattered, my life's a mess, guess what? The door is wide open for you. You're the one we've been waiting for.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. My dear friends, O sons of demons, you cannot please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by becoming perfect brahmanas, demigods, or great saints, or by becoming perfectly good in etiquette or vast learning.
That's very interesting. We got to come back to this, but
It's like my dream I had the other day.
Is it?
A transcendental dream. None of these qualifications can awaken the pleasure of the Lord.
Interesting.
Right? No, now, this is an interesting one. Nor by charity. These are good things. Charity is a good thing.
Mhm.
Austerity, right? That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Sacrifice, good thing. Cleanliness or vows can satisfy the Lord. The Lord is pleased only if one has unflinching, unalloyed devotion to him. Without sincere devotional service, everything is simply a show.
Interesting. You know, it's almost like I don't know, maybe in literature there's a conception of like pure love, right?
Mm.
Sometimes it's a man having to win the love of a woman,
Mm.
and the woman's standard is very high.
Mm.
Maybe she has many suitors, you know. But she's looking for something that's genuine. You know, she knows that men are interested in her with all kind of motives, selfish motives, and she has no interest in them. So no matter what they're putting forward, she's unmoved.
You should
She's
have seen
waiting
the
for
line
that.
of suitors I had to beat off. Man, a bunch of jackals trying to circle her for her vegan meatballs.
I'm sure there were many. I'm sure there were, and so so she's waiting for that. You know, the whether it's a film or whether it's that was kind of again the Groundhog Day thing, right? Where
Right.
There was only one suitor, but he was coming. You know, when he kept coming with selfish motivation, he was rejected. She's unmoved by that. It was only when he evolved and he approached her with a pure motive. I care about you. I want you to be happy. I'm willing to sacrifice for, you know, then she was moved. And so here it's saying that let's not lose what do they call it? The forest for the trees, right? All these things that these great texts talk about, that the Vedas talk about, so charity, austerity, sacrifice, cleanliness, these can be performed for selfish purposes. I do these because I want to reap material benefits from them, right? That's why I'm giving charity, you know, or I'm attaining vast learning or practicing perfect etiquette. I'm being a very well-behaved Brahmana. Even he says, or being a great saint. I've learned tolerance and patience and all of these things. These qualities, the value of them, the ultimate value of them, the true value of them, is that they become the fertile ground for the seed of devotion to grow in. And it's only that pure devotion that touches the Lord's heart, that moves him in any way. And so Prahlad's, you know, he's saying, you know what, in our schools we're studying the Vedas, we're learning these things, and we're being taught this stuff in the context of how to reap material benefits. But none of that gets us to the point I'm telling you about this divine being behind it all that we can go directly to. And I want to let you know also that all these other things that seem good, their value, their true goodness is in there being the fertile ground for pure devotion, pure love. That's the whole point to all of this, and that's the only thing that's going to move that person behind it all. It's a clarification that's it's important to be made, and it's the clarification that the Bhagavatam is going to set out to make.
What number are we on?
53.
Sometimes in my fidgetingness, I just scroll around with my hand.
I understand that, right?
My dear friends, O sons of demons, in the same favorable way that one sees himself and takes care of himself, take to devotional service to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present everywhere as the super soul of all living entities. I read that wrong. My dear friends, O sons of demons, in the same favorable way that one sees himself and takes care of himself.
Yes.
Take to devotional service to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present everywhere as the super soul of all living entities.
So in other words, like we make great efforts to take care of ourselves, to serve ourselves, right? I need to make sure that I'm warm enough. I need to make sure that I'm eating good food. I need to make sure that I'm happy in this way and comfortable in that way and all of that. He's saying that effort that you make, give it to God and recognize that, and not only that, but then recognize that God's within everyone. So now I've become the giver rather than the taker, right? Because if I'm taking that same energy that I would use in my own self-care, or you could say self-centered way, if I'm offering that to God and then I'm seeing God in everyone, now I've actually become the caretaker, the lover, the servant of every living being, of God and of every living being. He's saying this is the way to see, right? This is actually the path to happiness. The other way, although it seems like it works, I'll be happy when I'm the comfortable one. I'll be happy when I'm the one that's being offered everything. No. Turn that around. Offer it all to God. Oh yeah, and don't get stuck in this immature level of vision of God. Oh yeah, so okay, I get it, what you're saying. Offer to God. So then I go into the temple and I make an offering to God, right? Well, yes. But through that practice, you're meant to see God present everywhere and within the heart of every living being. See God there. Mature that vision, right? There's got to be an evolution in one's vision of the divine, right? Don't see the divine merely in the temple. Don't see God merely on the altar or in the church in a particular tradition. Don't see with this limited vision that's focused on external religious symbols, but see that the divine essence everywhere exists, and it exists within the heart of every living being. Serve that. He's getting deep with these kids.
Oh, my friends, O sons of demons, everyone, including you, the yakshas and the rakshasas, the unintelligent women. I guess they weren't going to school. The sudras, the cowherd men.
What's the problem with the cowherd man?
What's wrong with the cowherd man? I guess, because they're just like,
no, these aren't
probably
normally
like an
ones
educated
trained
class of people, and then there's everybody else out there.
Right.
The lower animals, the sinful living beings. Whatever you're at, wherever you're at, you can revive your original eternal spiritual life and exist forever simply by accepting the principles of Bhakti Yoga.
There's no external no one's prohibited, right?
No one's prohibited.
Nobody's banned. There's no one that's,
there is,
as you were saying, no one's
there still is a type of hierarchy, idea of a hierarchy, a higher caste or a higher sophisticated group, and India is filled with that type of structural, and there's a reason for it, and it was based on good reasons, but the idea is that it doesn't matter anyway. It's all secondary. All that stuff is secondary, and also the person's economic status. It's all secondary. Every time we can't artificially just say, yeah, we're all equal, because everyone is sort of different. There are people that are just simple people, and there's people that are very sophisticated people, and there are people who are academic people. There's people that are like athletic people. There's just different classes
refined,
of people. Unrefined, very refined. Everybody is qualified for Bhakti.
Everyone can be qualified, yeah.
Can be.
Yeah.
Sure.
Our ability to connect with God is not dependent on any of those.
Yeah.
Okay. And they might be thinking, no, I'm a rakshasa. I'm a demon. I was born in a family that bars me, right? Because this bhakti comes down in lineages that don't penetrate our family, right?
I mean,
we're raised a different way.
Sometimes I'll go to India and I see these kids who are practicing bhakti at such a young age, and I feel like, oh my God, if they only knew what I went through when I was there, my thoughts or my activities, and I feel like I am barred from this. And I hear that as a big complaint. A lot of people in culture, in the world today, just suffer from a lot of self-loathing. I hate myself. I'm not good enough. I'll never be able to do good. And it almost seems like we're shooting for purity. We're shooting for purity. And we wave this banner of pure devotion, and we feel not only so far from it. It's okay to feel far from being pure. It's another thing to say, I'm so far from it, so I'm just not going to play the game. It's just too lofty. It's too far of a race for me to get to the other side.
Discouraged.
Yeah, to get discouraged. And the idea is it's progress. Don't worry about becoming a pure devotee today. Walking an inch forward today. Walk a centimeter. If you can't walk an inch, you walk a centimeter. You walk 5 inches, that's good too. Walk about, just care about moving forward a little bit today. And whatever happened in the past, that's over. Now let's just, and we say, well, no, it's not over. I have this attachment. I have this addiction. You know what? Take a little step forward today. Just add a little bit of Krishna to your life, and that can manifest in so many different ways. Just take a little step forward today.
A little step. Okay.
A little step. And Krishna understands your pace. Krishna gets that. And Krishna encourages you. You add a little bit more.
Beautiful, Raghunath.
Like that.
Well,
Last
there's one more verse left in this.
Yeah, let's wind this up.
And this is where Prahlad's going to conclude, right? He's saying to them, you can see in these last 3 verses of this chapter, he's really speaking to any doubt within the mind of these boys who are born in these demoniac lineages. You're not barred from this, and it's a call to everyone that's reading it and hearing it to mature their spiritual understanding. That it's not that it's something only within one tradition, or only within one lineage, or only within one gender, or only within even one species. That actually every living being has access to God, and you should learn to see that divine connection and that divine essence everywhere. Right? Prahlad's going to prove that he sees it everywhere. I think next chapter maybe. He's going to be challenged by his father. Where is your Lord Vishnu? Right? Is he in this pillar? I see him everywhere. He's calling on these kids to see more like that.
And don't feel so how dare they say, oh, you born in your demonic families. Don't feel bad about that, or feel like defensive, because you were born in a demoniac. We were all born in demoniac families, basically. So we're oftentimes very, very disconnected to spiritual principles.
In other words, one could feel that way, but then it's like, if God is within the heart of every living being, then how can they not have the opportunity for bhakti?
Yeah.
Right?
We all have access at every moment. Isn't that great news?
Thank you. Love good news.
First thing in the morning. Good morning. Oh, Krishna, what do you want from me today? I'm yours.
Okay, last verse.
In this material world, to render service to the lotus feet of Govinda, the cause of all causes. I love that phrase, the cause of all causes. And to see him everywhere. That's homework today. To see Krishna everywhere. This is the only goal of life. You got a list of your goals.
Just throw them out.
5 years from now, I want to attain this. In 3 years from now, I want my economic. I want to be settled. I want to have a baby. Here's the goal of life right now. I fully surrender to Krishna. That's my goal. Make that your only goal. This is the only goal of life. And if Krishna wants you to be, Krishna will make you wealthy. He'll give the kid if you're supposed to have the kid. This is the real goal. This much alone is the ultimate goal of human life, as explained by all the revealed scriptures.
There you go.
Nice way to end the chapter. Thank you,
Yeah.
Krishna.
Thank you.
That's a great thing to say on a regular basis. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Krishna.
Thank you, Raghunath.
Thank you, Krishna.
Thank you, Mara.
Thank you, Krishna.
Thank you.
I'm not Krishna. This is Kastuba.
Thank you, Kastuba. And Raghunath. You guys ready for some takeaways? Yeah.
Yeah.
Spiritual path means digging deeper for the next level.
Dig deep, find the jewel.
Krishna wants to see if you're going to rise to the test.
Rising up.
Get up.
The real challenge is not giving way to hate directed at you.
Ooh, that's a big one. I could spend my whole life working on that one.
It's a tough one.
We could spend
Triumph
some
and-
time like throwing hate at you, and you could practice.
You and Mara just sit me down and just start chewing me out. Yeah, your receding hairline and your chin is too chubby, and you just like tear me apart physically, emotionally, mentally. And I'll just practice deflecting. I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the hairline. Go.
Triumph and disaster are fleeting impostors.
Imposters.
Give up personal motives and material desires.
Okay.
Give it up.
Give your efforts to God and see God in everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Become a giver, not a taker.
Like that one,
Good
right?
one. Like that.
That'll work on a mug, right?
That'll work. That'll be a great mug.
I got some good mugs coming.
I'd buy that mug. Okay.
How about take a little step forward?
I love that. I love that. Well, you know why? Because we live in the Hare Krishna movement. This whole pure devotion, pure devotion. You hear everybody talk about pure devotion. How about take a tiny, what was that again?
Take a little step
Take
forward.
a little step forward. That's my website. Takealittlestepforward.com.
Okay.
We all have access at every moment.
It's right there. God's in the heart.
Make full surrender your only goal.
Oh,
Well,
baby
sort of,
Krishna
that's
steps.
sort of like that's
That's
like
the other. That's exact
Yeah.
opposite.
That's the other-
The other one.
make full surrender your only goal, but take a little step forward today.
But take it. Well, they both work together. Take a little step forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
Mhm.
baby Krishna steps. How about that one?
that's a good one. And
And
no one is too dented to practice bhakti.
no. Some of you feel like, oh, I'm a flattened can. I'm not even dented. I was run over by a train. Like, you ever put a penny on the train tracks and it goes, psh?
Never do that.
Guess what? You're not. That makes you more qualified in Kali Yuga. Oh, Kali Yuga, that is the blessing. Thanks for joining us, everybody. You can join us, too. If you're listening to this show, email Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. If you haven't gone to Apple Podcasts and gave us a rating, you can do that. That's one way you can serve the podcast. Go to Apple Podcasts, write us a little story, what the podcast means to you, and give us a 5-star review. If you haven't, there's a lot of people out there that haven't reviewed my book yet. Go to Amazon.com and go to the review section. Please review it. I'm reading them and snooping around from them every day. Thanks for everybody that reviewed. Also, somebody told me, Sherry Yannick told me, Goodreads. Goodreads is the place to leave a review. So if you want to help me support my book.
And request it at your local library.
Oh, and request it at your local library.
Another tip from Sherry Yannick.
Thank you, Sherry Yannick. She's a librarian. She knows these ins and outs of book stuff. So yeah, go to your local library, request it. Goodreads.com. I appreciate that. And thanks to everyone. Patreon members, really appreciate it. That's what makes this train chug along. Patreon.com/wisdomofthesages. I want to thank all the people who've been just like loyal subscribers, giving whatever they can. It's appreciated. We love doing this, and we think it's important. So thank you very much. I did a good interview yesterday with a post when it comes out. It was
Tinfoil.
tinfoil hats.
Tinfoil, very
It was
interesting.
they do all types of metaphysical and spiritual things.
I
It's
bet they
comedian
do.
Sam Tripoli.
I bet they
Sam
do.
Tripoli. But I tell you, it was a great interview. They asked he's a recovery guy. And the recovery guys just have a depth about them. And it just worked out really nicely. So I'll post that.
Did you discuss aliens?
I wanted to go there. I really wanted to go there, but they were like, nope, let's keep it on spirituality.
Okay.
Aliens are spiritual. Hey, yakshas and rakshasas, we talked about aliens today. Come on. What do you think a rakshasa is? You don't think that's an alien? What do you think a yaksha is?
I was
Alien.
just asking if you talked about aliens. That's all.
Different narratives that are out there. Okay, it's going to be a day of gardening and kirtan. What do you think about that? What a wonderful day. I already walked barefoot, chanted 13 rounds. I'm going to do my puja and dive in the garden.
Oh, gardening today, huh?
Okay, everybody, listen. It's a beautiful day. For a beautiful day, weeds are your friends.
Weeds?
Weeds. Weeds can be your friends. Make weeds meet your needs.
Dandelions?
That's what I say. Dandelions, plantain. Come on, stinging nettle. Make soup. Thanks, everybody. Let the magic continue to flow. Harry.